We are live. Welcome to another episode of Evil Live. I'm your host, Evil Tyrone. We got a very special guest in the building tonight. We have Allie Russell in the building tonight. How are you tonight?
I'm okay. As I was saying earlier, just finished up a long work day, so excited to do this. This is the fun part of my day.
Oh yes. Well, thank you for coming on. I'm really excited. I've been following you for a little while. And checking out some of the stuff that you've got going on. Excited that your book is coming out. Your first novel. In 2024. How
Yeah,
is that?
yeah. It's been like a 2-year process at this point. Like I did PitMed. I think it was back in 2021. Like I spent like 2019, 2020, like writing the book. Thanks to the pandemic, I didn't have anywhere to go or anything to do,
Right.
except for write. So I was able to finish that. And then I did PitMat, which was a Twitter contest where you could like pitch your novel, like the concept, and you had like 3 tweets to do it in. And I was terrified to do it. I did it. I was like, okay, maybe one person might like this tweet, but it ended up being much better than that. And so like I got some attention and got an agent, and just went through like months and months of rejections. But eventually, we got a yes, from Allie, also named Allie. Allie Romig is my editor at Delacorte.
Yes.
So she loved it, and so we got that. And I've just been working on revisions since then. And I actually just finished up the last round of revisions like last week. So it's the final round. I haven't turned it in yet because I'm afraid.
I think everything's going to be fine. You're definitely going to get in there and kill it. It's going to
Yeah.
be it's definitely a challenge, and definitely something that you should be proud of. Just even coming as far as you've come. So I'm just excited to see the work. I'm excited to see the work.
Thank you, thank you. I appreciate that, and hopefully, I don't let anybody down when it's time to read it. But it's about black and brown. I'm black and Puerto Rican. It's about black and brown kids out in the woods doing their outdoorsy thing, getting stalked by a scary creature, and them like having to do whatever they can to survive the night. So I hope that like all of us who were kids, like who were super into horror and didn't get to see ourselves represented, and especially in like outdoorsy kind of horror fiction, I'm really hoping to like, give those people something to read. So
Oh yes, and I love that it's outdoorsy. I know you're a big cryptid enthusiast and stuff like that. So I was like, oh man, this is definitely. I'm just excited. I'm excited. I'm pumped about it.
oh,
I'm
thanks,
pumped about it.
thanks.
Jaleesa, she says, "Hey, 4 Eye Gang Gang."
There
What's
we
up,
go.
Jaleesa? There we go. There
I
we
wore
go.
I wore my bright greens just for Jaleesa. So
Yes,
next
getting it
time I'll
in
do the
there.
orange ones for you.
Oh yeah, oh yes. Whitney, the reader fan, says hello, first time here.
Hello.
Welcome to the show. Mika, hey, Mika, welcome once again. Yeah, Mika also says, sounds great. Love that representation. I was one of those kids who loved horror and the outdoors.
This is for you.
Yes.
It's for you.
Yes, most definitely, most definitely. Now, you are also, not just a cryptid enthusiast, but you also call yourself the Hollow Queen. So how did you get to start to calling yourself the Hollow Queen?
Um, it just sounded like a fun word to use, and I'm sure I stumbled across it on social media, like Instagram or something way back, in 2017, 18. I love Halloween. I always have, like when I was a kid, like my family, they used to throw like big Halloween parties. And I still remember like one of the last ones that we had. I was probably like between the ages of 7 and 9. But every like my parents just used to go all out. Like both of them would get dressed up. They would like have my sister like do backgrounds for the walls, and they would do it on like that big brown construction paper. So
Wow.
she would like paint the backgrounds. Like they would invite everybody from the neighborhood. There was like a costume contest. It was just like the best night of the year. So I've just like always grown up with this like deep love for Halloween. Like October is my favorite month, and I just I don't know. I feel like I come alive in October. Like the rest of the year is it's fine, but October is it.
Oh yeah, October is definitely, of course it's a highlight of the year.
Oh yeah, for people like us,
We
yeah.
yeah, we try and stretch it out. We try and make it, all year round, but October is definitely a highlight up there, one of the favorites. So I guess we could start getting into it. Like what was your horror origin story? Like how did you get into the genre?
Um, Again, my parents, like everybody in my family, like we're all big movie buffs, and that was just kind of like the thing that we did when I was a kid. I'm one of four, so I have three sisters, two older, one younger. Um,
Hmm.
and all six of us would just like sit around on Friday and Saturday nights and watch a scary movie. And one of the first movies I ever remember watching was Silver Bullet, which is based off of Stephen King's Cycle of the Werewolf. And I've heard so many people say bad things about the werewolf in that movie, but I love them. They're like, oh, you mean the bear or whatever? But no, I love Silver Bullet. It was just like I love the special effects. I'm a big Stephen King fan, so it was just like a good like you know meshing of like Stephen King horror movies, werewolves, which I also love, creature feature. So that was like one of the first ones that ever like stuck with me. And then ever since then, it's just been horror all the time. From like Goosebumps and like other scary books up till now.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So speaking of Goosebumps, because I've seen you've written you wrote an article, on Goosebumps as well. Like how much of an impact did that have on you, as younger, and just seeing like because they went there, like that's one of the things that I loved about shows like Goosebumps or Are You Afraid of the Dark. Like they went there. It wasn't just like funny type campy. Like it was actually like some scary topics.
Oh yeah, Slappy the Dummy. Like I remember having nightmares about him because my one of my older sisters was reading the books, and she would tell me about it, and it was just too scary. And then when that movie came out, and I was like, oh my gosh, just like I didn't realize that like talking dummies were like would trigger a fear response in me. So yeah, I would say Goosebumps has always been like a big thing in my life. Mostly because like children's literature back then is not what it is today. Like there was a lot of children's literature, but I wouldn't say that there was a ton of horror. So yeah, it's just been really fun to like grow up and like see this resurgence. And R.L. Stein, like he's got a comic book series that's been coming out, Stuff of Nightmares, I think it's called. And I know that I can't remember. I think they're redoing a Goosebumps show or some other like R.L. Stein content for TV. And that was a really fun review to write for that book for the actually pulled it out, but for the Art of Goosebumps. Oops.
Yes. Yes.
That was a fun review to write, and so I have that one pinned because R.L. Stein commented on it, so it felt like a dream come true.
That yeah, I know you were just like on the moon, on the
Oh
moon.
yeah, yeah. No, my editor at Nightfire, she like as soon as he commented, she sent me like this like frantic email like check the website. So I went to go check it and it was like Arl Stein, wonderful writing. And I was like, oh my gosh, like Arl Stein has seen this. And I called him a little bit grumpy in the review.
But he must have been well receptive, just he just recognized some great writing, so it's
I,
and
I think he's a good sport. I think that he just comes across as grumpy, probably in some scenario. And it could just be the way Jack Black played him in the Goosebumps movie.
yeah.
But I think he's a good sport about it.
Oh yeah, most definitely, most definitely. We got Mika. She says that Silver Bullet is such a great film, one of my favorite werewolf films. I remember that reveal of who the werewolf was, so shocking.
I know. Are we allowed to talk about that? Because
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
it's been a long time. It's
it's been
1985.
ages. Yes.
Yeah, no, that reveal of Reverend Lowe, didn't see it coming. It was so
Oh yeah, oh yeah. That's why I like when you said some people, talk about Silver Bullet. I'm like, I love that movie. Just it's just
Good.
like even there's a scene where like there's a spider coming down, and it looks kind of like, now it looks kind of like, like you guys could have done a little bit better with that, but I'm just like, it just it's a chef's kiss. It's a chef's kiss. Where but then again, I love werewolves. I
Yeah.
just so I forgot the exact title of that. There was a werewolf book in Goosebumps. I think it was like
Um, there's the Werewolf of Fever Swamp, and
yes,
then there's Werewolf Skin, I think. And I think there's one other one that has like full moon in the title. Those
yes,
other two are like later. They're later, and they're not I don't think they're like the original Goosebumps books.
oh yeah, oh yeah. It's the Werewolf of Fever Swamp was definitely, I remember
Yeah.
as a kid, like I had the bedspread. Like I had a bunk bed, and I
Oh, I'm
had,
jealous.
yeah, I had a bunk bed, and my bed was, where I slept was on the bottom, but the top bunk it had a bedspread of it was Goosebumps bedspread, sheets, blankets, pillowcases, and then it
So
had
jealous.
all of my Goosebumps, collection laid on top of the bed. So sometimes, I would just go up and look at all the cover art and everything. 'Cause something like, I don't think it gets enough credit. Like the cover art for Goosebumps was amazing. It
Oh
was
yeah,
amazing.
Tim Jacobus is his art. I think that was like the first thing that like pulled you into the Goosebumps. So yeah, no, he's I think enjoying a little bit of like popularity too because he actually illustrated one of the new Stuff of Nightmares
Yeah.
covers for R.L. Stein. So I think that like people like us who've grown up with like that nostalgia factor for Goosebumps are like, introducing him to younger readers. But also, I just want to say I'm so jealous of you. I'm 35 and I'm so jealous of you because I begged for Goosebumps sheets and never got.
Well, it's fine. It's fine. I'm 34, and I pretty much had to like do a lot of chores and do a lot of begging and pleading for those sheets,
But you
and
got them. That's
yeah.
nice. Do you still have them?
No, unfortunately, no. I feel like I need to go on eBay somewhere and just find some, because it's so they were so good. And just seeing, like, I think I had a picture of me just laying in bed one day, and like I think my mom was taking a picture, and they had the Goosebumps sheets on there or whatever, and the blankets. I was just like, man, I didn't even know what I had. It's
No,
just it's
right,
just
exactly. I was just gonna say, don't you hate that like I don't know, I feel like I gave away or got rid of a lot of stuff like when I moved across states. And I like Goosebumps is so popular now because it's an anniversary year. And I just hate that I gave up so much Goosebumps stuff from my childhood. Like I think I went through that like young adult college phase where I was like, oh, I don't need this anymore. And now as an adult, I'm like, oh, I wish I had that. So
oh yeah. Oh yeah, the backpacks, the
yeah,
lunch pails,
the
everything.
walkie-talkies.
Yes, yes, the walkie talkies. Yes, we but you live and you learn, and you appreciate it, and then you try and tell the younger generation, like, hey, keep your stuff,
Yeah,
because
for sure.
you're gonna want to look at it. When you're in your 30s, and you're like, oh man, I look back on the fond memories when you're dealing with taxes. Now we're dealing with taxes, so
Well, and if you had your stuff from childhood, it could be worth something and you could like I don't know, built wealth like that. Like I see all these
yes.
like collectors and they've got like these massive collections that are worth, thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And like, so just hang on to that stuff.
Uh-huh. You got to. Mika says, my no, Jaleesa says my brother had a Goosebumps lunchbox. I thought it was mine until they gave me a Barbie lunchbox. Wow. They was hating. They was hating.
Uh-huh. Girls like horror too. Girls like Goosebumps too.
Yes, yes, they was hating. They was hating heavy.
So I have a
Let's
funny story. Oh, sorry. I
oh no,
just have
no,
a
go.
funny story to like compare to that. When I was growing up, I think my parents were worried about me and like my devotion to horror. But do you remember the creepy crawlies kit where you could like make the like
Yes, the
bodies and stuff
candy.
out of like that like it's not Play-Doh, but it was like a plasticky kind of thing. Like
Uh-huh.
you put the metal trays into the hot oven. So one year my parents bought me the creepy crawlies one, but they also bought me the dolls one, I think, to to like
Wow.
counteract, I guess, like the spooky in the creepy one. But so I feel Jaleesa's pain.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It was, but I definitely remember like when I was a kid, they would always get me like the creepy crawly stuff or the you could make, I forget what it was called, but you could make like your own gummy candy,
Yep.
and stuff like that. And I just remember and they gave my sister the Easy Bake Oven, and we would honestly break out the Easy Bake Oven like every couple months or whatever, but the candy was a consistent thing, especially
Yeah.
because what you made it with, it just looked like it was just sugar,
It was
sugar,
just
sugar, powder,
goo. It was
powder.
like
Yeah.
gooey sugar and like a liquid. I question so many things about our child.
But we survived. We
We did.
survived.
Yeah,
We
we're
got
probably gonna become mutants or something from the candy we ate from those machines, but oh well.
oh yeah, oh yeah. We got we also got a Black Horror Survivor in the chat. Welcome. I grew up on Silver Bullet. I actually might watch it tonight. Yes, watch it tonight.
Yes, do it.
That's another
Do
classic.
it. Uncle Red is so quotable.
Yes, yes. So many. It's just so much nostalgia. Like I feel like now when I pop in one of those old movies like a Silver Bullet or The Howling, I get that nostalgic feel, and it just brings me back to the first time that I saw it. So my next question would be, do you have a favorite subgenre in horror?
Um, I would definitely say that I lean toward like the outdoorsy kind of horror. So anything to do with like camping, the woods, hiking, spelunking, like The Descent is one of like my favorite horror movies when they're down in the
Yes.
caves. Um, I also really, really like creature features, which I feel like coincides with the outdoorsy horror. And I would say like any kind of alien horror, just because like X Files.
Yes, yes, yes. It's so X-Files has so many classic episodes, especially involving aliens.
Yeah, no, my husband and I are rewatching them, and I this is probably like blasphemous to say, but like I don't love the overarching like alien stories. I like the Monster of the Week episodes much
Gotcha.
better than like the alien story. I don't know. I just feel like they just tried to do too much over too long of a time period.
No,
But yeah.
I kind of I feel you on that because it's sometimes at a certain point the alien storyline was like kind of hard to follow. They were going
Oh,
everywhere with it.
and how did we do it back before streaming was a thing? Like we we watch it now streaming, and we're like, this doesn't make sense. This just like hopped, from this storyline to the other because they were depending on that, back in the day when there were like months between seasons. So
Yes, yes, yes. But it's so many classic X-Files episodes, especially the Monster of the Week. That's
mm,
why sometimes we'll go back, and rewatch, that and what is it? Tales from the Crypt. They've got
yeah.
some cool monsters of the week as well.
Oh man, Tales from the Crypt kept me up at night. I something about the creeper or the not the creeper, the crypt creeper's face.
Yes.
It just like thinking about him with like his nose gone and his little like high pitched laugh. That was one of those shows where like my dad would watch it before bed, and I really didn't want to watch it because it scared me too much, but I didn't want him to know how scared I was, so I would watch it anyway and then have nightmares.
Wow. Wow. See, I used to have like I would have nightmares if I'd watch it alone, but when I would
Uh-huh.
go over my grandmother's house, like she would watch Tales from the Crypt.
Uh-huh.
So, I would just, and she would watch it like not on Fox but on HBO where it was like uncensored and stuff like that. So so I'm just watching all this stuff as a kid and I'm just like, "Whoa, this is I'm not even knowing what I'm soaking up."
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is what I'm talking about when I say like children's horror and stuff like that. It wasn't quite then what it is today. So I think keeping those audiences in mind, yeah,
Oh yeah.
it turned out
Oh,
okay.
we got Mika. She says she loves X Files. I peeped that I Want to Believe poster in the background. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Shout out.
That was a Christmas gift a couple years ago. What was I watching? Um, I don't know if it was the show or something else where somebody had an X-Files poster, and I was like, why don't I have an X-Files poster? Like, I should have an X-Files poster. So my
I
sister bought
know.
me one.
See, and now that I saw yours, I'm like, damn, I need one. I
You need an
need.
X-Files
Yeah.
poster.
Yes. I think we all do. I think we all do. Us
Make
believers, you
make
know.
sure you get the right one. So there's a well, make sure you get the one that you want, because I think there's the black and white version, and then there's one that has like a slight bit of color, because in one of the seasons Mulder's X-Files episode or X-Files poster gets ripped down, so he has to get a new one. So make sure you pay attention
Uh,
to which one you want.
oh, interesting. I gotta, yeah. Thank you for that tidbit. Thank you for that tidbit. Yes,
What I'm
yes.
here for.
Jaleesa, 100% agree. Love your background, Ali.
Thank
And
you.
yes,
Thank you.
Whitney says, I love Tales from the Crypt. It was definitely scary but good. Yes,
Yeah.
most definitely. Most
I
definitely.
don't even
And
remember most of the Tales from the Crypt episodes. I just know that like all of them, they were just ironic. Like they would put you in a situation like, okay, what's the most ironic thing that could happen to this character? That's the thing that's going to happen.
uh-huh. Well, it was always like, I think it was like a more screwed up version of like the Twilight Zone to me, because in the Twilight Zone it was like
Yeah.
you're gonna learn your lesson, but you still might survive. Like you may be in an alternate reality with thin people, and everyone's got four noses, but you'll
Yeah.
survive. But in the Tales from the Crypt, it's like no,
You're going
you're
to
gonna,
die
yeah.
screaming.
You're gonna be locked in a vat of acid somewhere.
Yep.
That's that Tales from the Crypt love
Or
right there.
maybe you won't die screaming. Maybe you'll just be left in that vat of acid to think about your actions for the rest of your, I don't know, for eternity. So
Oh yeah,
it was horrifying.
but 9 times out of 10, if you were in Tales from the Crypt, you were a horrible person anyway. Like
That's true. That's true. Like looking back on some of those episodes, like all the characters were bad from jump, so you just knew.
yeah, even the like one of my favorites was this the Santa Claus episode where the mom, I think she kills the husband, and she buries him out in the back, but there's some like escaped lunatic on the loose, and he's dressed in a Santa Claus suit, and it was wild. It was wild.
I don't
It's
think
the
I remember
perfect
that one,
time.
but I'm gonna have to check it out.
Yeah, it's the perfect time of the year to watch that one. It's the perfect
Mhm.
time. Now, do you have a favorite decade of horror?
Um, I don't know. That's hard to answer. I think. I mean, if I had to like, if you were twisting my arm and I had to answer, I'd probably say the '80s, just because of the nostalgia and because of the special effects. Um,
Hmm.
but also like, there's some really good stuff coming out now, like right now. Um, yeah, so I don't know. I'd have to go back and forth between like the '80s and like the now, like the past like decade or so.
Oh, okay. Wow, I love the 80s. 80s horror is some of my favorite, some of my favorite horror, and we've also, from then to now, we've also had some amazing 90s horror, and then, we've done some amazing things, in the 2000s, early 2000s, and then where we are now, like even with stuff like Nope and stuff like that, like it's really cracked it open. Really cracked it open.
You Nope. Oh my gosh. That is like one of my favorite movies of the year. Like I would think about that because it reminds me so much of like X-Files, like the Black X-Files content that I wanted and never
Yes.
really got. Like Nope is just perfect for that. And it's just I watched it for the second time around Thanksgiving with my family, and I just loved it even more because it just like it covers so many genres. Like it's a horror movie, but like also it's a comedy and it's an adventure movie with like the Steven Spielberg kind of music vibe. It's sci-fi, it's action, like it's everything. It really is everything.
Yes. It's definitely up there. It's definitely up there. Like I actually just got it in the mail today on Blu-ray. So I might check it out this weekend again, because it definitely was a time. And it was unexpected. Like I did not know. Like I thought I was gonna get something, but when I actually saw it, I was like, oh, this is
You can't be prepared.
yeah.
So because I watched it recently, this is my hope for Jordan Peele and like his next movie. In the very beginning of Nope, there's a radio segment where they talk about the news is like reporting on missing hikers. And
Yes.
so I am hoping that Jordan Peele's next movie is a horror movie about missing hikers.
Oh my God. I was
I'm
listening
keeping my fingers crossed.
I was listening to a podcast about how many people go missing in these national parks. So
Mhm.
I'm down. I'm down.
Missing 411. That's what like my book was inspired by.
Wow. Wow.
Wouldn't that just be
Awesome.
so good though? Like if he just did a movie, all black people out in the woods, and what is happening to these missing hikers? Is it going to be a creature? Is it going to be alien? Like what is it?
Ooh. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sold. I'm sold. I'm sold. If Jordan Peele doesn't
All
do
right,
it,
let's keep our
then
fingers
you need to
crossed.
do it. Yes, we're gonna keep our fingers crossed. We're definitely gonna keep our fingers crossed. Now, Mika says, you said you love creature features. Do you have a favorite?
Um, I have too many favorites probably. I really like The Thing. I think the special effects in
Yes.
that are really great. Um, I also anything werewolves. If the werewolves are actual like um, makeup and prosthetics and not CGI.
Yeah.
Except for the the only exception to that rule is Cursed with Christina Ricci. The werewolf is so bad in that movie, and I love that movie, and it's my comfort creature feature movie.
Oh,
But
awesome.
for like where I really like Dog Soldiers.
Yes.
Sweetheart was another good one that I saw recently. Yeah, just anything with monsters, but I'd say anything with a werewolf is probably going to come out on top.
Yes, yes. And I agree. I love the prosthetics, what they can do, with these creatures and stuff like that. Although I will say like a comfort one for me where I'm like, okay, I can kind of forgive it, which a lot of people hate is American Werewolf in Paris,
Me too. That's a good one. I watched that when I was in high school, and it was I don't know it scared me enough, and I think because at that time we didn't realize special effects were very bad. We didn't realize that, but like when you're watching it, it's just I don't know. It feels scary in the moment. Like my favorite part in that movie is when they're underground and like I think they're in like catacombs or something, or
Yeah.
like not catacombs. Yeah, because they're in Paris, so they could be in the catacombs. I don't remember, but when the one guy's trying to get away and he's like running and like the werewolf is chasing him through the tunnel and they're showing you like from the werewolf's point of view.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
one of the scariest scenes.
Yes, it's just the thoughts of being chased by something that hulking down the streets of Paris or in the catacombs. Like me and my fiance, we had recently, well, we had went to Paris, a couple years ago,
Oh, nice.
and I'm like, she's like, yeah, we should go here, we should go there, and I just kept thinking about the catacombs in American Werewolf in Paris, and I'm just like, I don't know, I'm like, okay, maybe next time we go, we'll be a little bit more adventurous as far as like the catacombs and stuff like that,
I,
because mm,
yeah, I that's scary. I understand your hesitation because it's like the one part is like, well, I'm into all this stuff. It's creepy, but then there's the other part of you that has kept you safe and alive for this long that is like, don't do that.
yes, yes, it's I guess it's watching these horror movies, because a lot of times when people go overseas or in a different country or something like that, like they get locked in, and then the Americans, they're so tasty, they get locked in. So that's what it is, like was it From Dusk Till Dawn, when they lock them in, when they locked them in the club, and it's all vampire creatures and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's totally scary. My nephew just went to London and our whole family was like a nervous wreck before he went because we're like, okay, don't talk to strangers. Don't leave the hostel unless you are with someone. Don't give your phone to anybody. Like we just probably bombarded him with like so many rules and he's just is young and like he wants to go and experience the world, but like meanwhile we just watched Hostel or Taken or any of those movies, and have had to like warn him about the dangers. But he went,
Oh yeah.
had a good time, and he came back. So
Oh, it's all, it's all in good fun, all in good fun. Black Horror Survivor says Sweetheart is a great film, and yeah, I
It
think I have to check out Sweetheart. I don't think I've seen Sweetheart.
it's there's a plane crash and this girl is like shipwrecked, for lack of a better word, on this like island, and there's a creature on the island. So check it out. I won't say anything else. I will say I'm very sensitive to like being chased and just like certain forms of horror, and that was one of the ones that made me tear up because I was so scared.
Oh wow,
So
wow.
it's good. It
Oh,
probably won't make you tear up, but it did me.
I'm going to check it out. And the horrible thing is, I think that's one of those ones that's at, like, when you add things to your Netflix list, and you just add so many things that things just get pushed to the very very
Yeah.
back to where you don't even see it anymore. I think it's made it to the very very back. But I've definitely got to check that one out. It's definitely getting a lot of love tonight. Um, so yeah. Now my next question would be: could you name a film that you wish you could have been on the set for, or since you're an author, a a book that you wish that you could have been, in the pages for?
Oh, like a character in the book?
Yeah, yeah, character in the book.
Um, I don't know. I don't want to be a character in any horror unless they like live, but that doesn't happen too often. So I'm gonna go with the movie one. I think I would like. I know I keep bringing it up, but The Thing, just because of special effects, like I think it would have been cool to
Yes.
see all that. Like, and I was a big fan of Face Off, which used to come on Sci-Fi Channel, where they
Yes.
would like have the contestants like compete in special effects. I would say that one or Dog Soldiers, because those are some of my favorite werewolves ever on screen. So I think it would just been really cool to like be behind the scenes. And then Dog Soldiers is one where I don't think they have the original film anymore. Like I think Neil Marshall, I think that's his name. Sorry, I'm bad with names, but I think Neil Marshall got rid of it, or I don't know why. They just don't have it anymore. So that's why like the reproductions don't look super great like every time they release like a Blu-ray or a DVD. So I think
Mm-hmm.
about how much stuff was lost, like those like special DVD features and stuff like that that we don't get to see. So probably that movie too.
That's awesome. You know what? Dog Soldiers is definitely one that I feel like needs a proper re-release, because more people need to be showing it love. Like I've interviewed a couple people who have brought up Dog Soldiers when it comes to like the werewolf genre and stuff like that. So it's amazing.
Yeah, I think it's got a cult following now, which is good. So
Oh yes, oh yes. Hell, all hell the cult following. It's what keeps these things alive.
hey, I mean, look at Trick or Treat. Remember, Trick or Treat was straight to DVD, and now like you can't walk by a Spirit Halloween store without like tripping over Trick or Treat stuff.
I was so shocked to, like, I went to Spirit Store this year and I saw Sam, and I'm just like, oh my god, like this was just a DVD. I thought me and a couple other people were just watching something. Yeah, but like you said, sometimes the cult followings get the crossover, the crossover
Right.
appeal. So now I know earlier you said you uh one of the reasons that you were writing, the stories that you're writing, was because you wanted to see, some of the representation that you didn't necessarily get to see as a child. So uh you know being as though you've seen a lot of things now, is there some of, like, is there, like, what horror did you feel represented in, if any, throughout your life?
Um, I mean, anything where there were black and brown characters, like it just felt like, oh, okay, like I can not I didn't not that I wanted to like see myself in that situation because the situations were usually very scary, but I think it
Yeah.
was important to like teach me like, oh, you don't just have to be, a background character or a side character. And if you because I knew I wanted to write like ever since I was a little kid. And so it was just like reinforced. that you could put like Black and brown people at the front of, in leading roles, and
Yes.
that, people would buy those books and people wanted those stories. I think for me growing up, Are You Afraid of the Dark was good because I feel like that representation was there. They tried
Yes.
to cover like a wider cast of characters. Um, what else? I mean, that was like the biggest one because I will say, like, as much as I love Goosebumps, there wasn't a ton of like representation in that one. It's not horror, but like all that stuff that was coming on
Yes.
Nickelodeon and whatnot in the 90s, like I think it like helped, with any identity issues that I might have been struggling with as like a kid. Oh, and I see I pulled all my books out so that I wouldn't mess it up. This was one of my favorites as a child, The Dark
The
30.
Dark 30. Wow.
Yeah.
I gotta check that
By
one out.
Patricia McKissack. It's just like tales of the supernatural from the South, and like they all feature like Black characters. So that was like a book that like I held near and dear just because like, oh, like there are Black people like on the page. Um, yeah, I would say those two shows, and then like for a lot of movies and stuff like that, like you just naturally gravitate toward, those characters. I talked a little bit. I written a blog post for Tor Nightfire just about this issue, like representation, in the fiction, like the horror fiction that we grew up with. So I think like, Dream Warriors is one of like my husband's like favorite Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and I think for that reason because there's representation in it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Oh yeah, it's definitely important. Like I was talking to someone not too long ago about, how sometimes like getting my own stories out, it was a struggle at one point because it was like I was writing from a white perspective because that's a lot of the times that's majority of what I would see and like what was, majority celebrated, in the horror space. So it was like, oh, at one point like I found it kind of hard to like write from my perspective and make it feel like genuine, because I didn't really see a lot of it, growing up. So
oh yeah, and we were made to consume like so much like white culture growing up that like I think it's easy to fall into that trap of like having somebody tell you or forcing you to believe, oh, there's no audience for this. There's no one like you, and um that's just not true. And that's one of the things that I've like loved about Instagram is like getting to connect with like other Black and brown people who care about horror. And
yes.
we're into the same things that like we were into when we were growing up.
Oh yes, oh yes. That was going to be my next question. How does it feel to be in the horror community, a part of the horror community, in 2022, where it's just you get a lot of people of color. No matter what, you get all sorts of representation in it, and everyone's so passionate about the genre.
I think it's great. I mean, that's what I was like looking for growing up. And like I had, my sisters were into horror, but like I didn't get along with my sisters until we got older.
Yeah.
I think anybody who has siblings knows how that like dynamic is. But like now that we're older, we all like talk about horror all the time to each other. But like growing up, I had like one best friend who was also into like Goosebumps and like horror. Um, like I was. And so like it's nice to be part of like a bigger community where there are people who look like you, people who don't look like you, and everybody just has like the same goal of like promoting and elevating and like just like gushing about horror. It's
Yes.
nice. It makes you feel like you're not alone, like a little less lonely. Like you guys are like complimenting me on like my ex-spouse poster, but sometimes when I go to work, I like cover it up, I put my screen on blur because like you just don't know.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, we've all been there when we've been in those spaces to where we didn't feel like our love for the genre would be as accepted. So
Yeah.
you may be like, oh, well, I'm going out to this event, so let me not wear, this, or I'm going, around this person, so let me not wear this. But as I found as I've gotten older, I'm just like, whatever. Like I'm gonna
Yeah.
I'm gonna I'm gonna let it fly. I'm gonna let it fly.
I've definitely gotten more comfortable about it. I think, when I first started like being an adult and like working in, corporate America, like I didn't talk about horror at all. It was just something that like I kept very close to me. Um, and if it ever came up, like in some of like the earlier jobs that I had, the conversation was very limited. It was like, oh, you like horror? So like Dracula, Frankenstein? Okay, yeah, there's other stuff. But now, I've as I've gotten older and like more comfortable like with myself, like as an adult, like life is too short. I talk about it a lot more. At my last job, like everybody knew, like I was like creep queen. Like if you had a creepy question or you found something spooky or were into something spooky, it got sent my way. Um, and so now I'm just like I work on a smaller team now, but I've let them all know like right off the bat, like this is what you're doing. This is me.
Oh yes, oh yes. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, especially now that we are in an era where we're getting so much more representation. We're still not where we need to be, but it's a beautiful thing. Even like the other day, I was watching I think it was called Backslash on Shutter, a film where it was just all indigenous little girls and they were fighting aliens, and it was the craziest movie. I loved it. I loved it.
We saw that trailer. So now that we have your review,
Oh
which is that
yes,
you loved it, we will check it out.
yes, most definitely, most definitely. I highly recommend it. Black Horror Survivor says the Black horror community on IG is so inspiring to me. I don't feel alone as a Black horror fan anymore. Yes, yes,
Yeah,
man, because you're
for
not.
sure.
Because you're not. Mika, the horror community has been so great. Love that I can connect on a shared interest. Yes, yes, most definitely,
Yeah.
most definitely. Germs, what's up, man? Welcome to the chat. Welcome to the chat. Yes, we got more, just more. It's a beautiful thing, especially like I remember I would watch, because sometimes as a horror fan, you're just like, you know what, let me see what these people think about this movie or on YouTube or whatever. And you're just searching people. And you see a lot of people that don't look like you. You got to scroll all the way down to the bottom. And I found, a couple of people, and I'm just like, oh, like I feel seen, and then I just fell down a rabbit hole. And, next thing I know, I'm following One Dark Alley, and it's just, you got some awesome content too.
Oh, thanks. I do feel though like it was only after 2020 when like people started calling out organizations and like groups and stuff like that for like their racist practices.
Yes.
Instagram was one of those communities. Like they elevate a lot of white content. And
Yes.
that was all I seen. And the wandering reader Nina, you interviewed her. I loved her. And when we found each other on Instagram, it was like, oh, two like black and brown people, like we both love horror books. And so like I feel like I have that like bond with her, but she was one of the few people who popped up. Like not many other like black or brown horror creators popped up whenever you would do a search for them. And we know why that is now, because of the racist algorithms, at Instagram and whatnot. And I think we're still unfortunately like seeing some of that. Like I'm thinking about Wednesday, the show. I don't know if you've seen the show
Yes.
Wednesday,
Oh
Adam,
yeah.
which I thought was really good. But like there are a lot of like white creators who are doing the dance that Wednesday does in the show.
Yes.
And I've noticed that when I've tried to like search creators who are like mimicking the dance, a lot of white creators show up. Never mind that Wednesday, is played by a Latina actress and she's supposed to be a Latina version of Wednesday Adams, but that white content is like so high at the top when you do a search, and it's unfortunate.
Yes. Very. Very. I saw Wednesday. It was amazing. I thought I was like, this is the type of horror that I want. Something that's funny, something that's a little serious at parts, but doesn't take itself too seriously. But a kid can get stabbed and we'll be like, oh snap. I think I was.
Or yeah, or she can throw. This is from the trailer, so I'm not spoiling anything. Or she can throw a bag of piranhas in the pool and
Yeah.
smile over it.
Yeah, I'm like, how is she not locked up? What's going on? Is this the tone that we're setting? Yeah.
Yeah, no, Wednesday was enjoyable. I will say at the beginning I was a little bit skeptical about it, you know, just knowing Tim Burton's views on race.
Yes.
Um and so I was a little bit concerned with like how they were portraying black characters. Like they all felt very antagonistic toward Wednesday, and I was like, this is like not great. But I feel like that changes as you keep watching. Anybody gave up after those first few episodes for that reason, which I almost did. I would just encourage you to keep watching.
Oh yeah, I definitely know what you're talking about because I did like the first couple episodes. I did bring that up. I was like, and this is by Tim Burton, and there were
Uh-huh.
also some things thrown in that I was like, oh, so Netflix probably didn't give this man full control because there were some things I'm like, oh, I don't think he would have put that in there. So
Yeah.
it was very good, all in all it was very good. But it's funny like being someone of color and loving the genre and then um having things that you love but also knowing that some of these creators like how they feel about certain things, and
Yeah.
the struggle with that, because you're like, man, it should be, you know, uh, we want like we want black representation and stuff like that. But we know that, we do as just lovers of the genre, like we take inspiration from like Tim Burton, some of the stuff that he's done and some of the stuff that other people have done, and just being like, you know what, there's space for us. If we may not fit your aesthetic that you think, or that that you may think that we don't fit your aesthetic, but there's stuff out there for us.
Yeah. Yeah. No, is disappointing. It's so disheartening. So but that's all the more reason why we gotta like support, people like Jordan Peele and Tanana Reeve and all these other like black and brown creators who are creating stuff like content for everybody.
Yes, yes, the Akila Coopers, who are behind the scenes writing. She wrote *Malignant*, and she's writing *The Nun*
Mhm.
too, and she wrote what's that movie? It's coming out. Megan, or what's is that the robot
Oh,
girl?
is that yeah. I'm
Yeah.
excited to see Meg. I haven't seen *Malignant*. I've heard nothing but like good stuff about it. And what was the second one that you named?
Uh, um, was it *Malignant*, Megan, and *The
Oh,
Nun*
you said
too?
The Nun
Yeah.
too. I haven't seen The Nun because um possession horror is like a tough pill for me.
Gotcha, gotcha.
So I haven't seen that one, but I'm looking forward to Megan.
Well, I can say this, since you mentioned creature features earlier in the conversation, *Malignant*, you will absolutely love
Okay.
it. Absolutely love it. It's James Wan. He's behind it. The director, and he got a black woman, Akila Cooper, to write the script. So it's wild. You do not see it coming. It's one of the best films that came out in recent years. So
Okay. I'll check it out. I did 31 horror movies in 31 days for Halloween. So I'm taking a bit of a break from horror movie. I actually
all right.
don't do a ton of horror in like December, but January I'm back in horror mode.
Oh yes, oh yes. Yeah, January, and I won't say like *Malignant* is like, too horror. Is kind of more like I don't want to give it away, but yeah, come
Okay.
January,
I will
get
watch
into
it.
it. Yes, get
It's
into it.
it's on my list. Like I actually do have a letterbox like list that I keep, but it's like you said, it's one of those ones that's just gotten like pushed up, pushed up, pushed up, and I it's not in view anymore, so I need to move it back down.
Oh yeah, because it's we all have those lists. We all have those lists. But I just try, especially now. I'm like, if someone of color, has made something, especially on like Shutter or somewhere, like a Sissy recently came out on Shutter, which I really enjoyed. I try and check it out. Relatively ASAP. But I'm not perfect. I sometimes stuff falls all the way to the back, falls all
Yeah.
to the back, unfortunately. But yeah, so my next question would be, what could you name a movie that you wish you could have seen again for the first time, a horror movie?
See, I told you I was gonna forget every movie I've ever seen. Um, I'm cheating. I'm looking at a box.
Hey, well, hey, Letterbox is the one, not the two.
A movie that I could have seen again, maybe The Night House. Um, that is just
Yes,
I cried.
I told
I was
Jaleesa to watch it.
terrified. I cried.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. I watched it, I think it was in 2021. And it's one of those movies, like once I finished it, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Like I thought about it every day for weeks after, and just like trying to figure out my emotions about it and the characters.
Yes.
Yeah, the Night House, I think for sure.
And I have most definitely. I've it's new, especially because I'm like now lately, like the past year or so, I've been getting more into psychological horror. It's one of my
Mhm.
it's well my fiance's favorite, like subgenre in horror, psychological horror. So we've been watching that, and well she actually hasn't seen it yet, but it's definitely one of the ones that she's going to check out relatively soon, because I can't wait to get her opinion on it. And what's
Yes.
the other one? The Babadook, which we recently checked out. Which have
Okay.
you ever checked out the Babadook?
I I did. It's not one of my favorites, but
Yeah.
because I'm actually not a big fan of psychological horror. And so to the Night House, I was gonna say, you said it's psychological horror, and I do not think it's like psychological horror. So
Oh, what? Interesting. What subgenre would you put
I
it?
don't want to spoil anything for
Okay,
Jalissa.
gotcha. Yeah, true. Okay. But I'm a once me and Jaleesa watch it, then I'm gonna circle back and then I'm
Yeah,
gonna ask you what because I'm interested. I mean, because it's one of those movies that 10 people can watch it and they can all take different things
yeah,
from it, you know.
yeah. Start a group chat with us, and because I
Yes.
want her opinions. But it's interesting that you call it psychological horror, and I feel like a lot of men have called it psychological horror, but not a lot of women. Um,
Oh,
so I'm just curious. I'm curious.
got you. Okay, I'm excited about that now. I'm excited. All right. Got Christine, she's in the building. What up? Welcome to the chat. Yes, Mika says the Night House is so good. Rewatched it a couple times. Love Rebecca Hall. She did Resurrection. That's another one I gotta check out. Resurrection. That's on my list.
Is that the one where that guy pops up from her past?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think from the synopsis that I read, yeah, I
Yeah,
definitely got it.
she is so good in the Night House. Like that scene where the parent comes in to complain. I was just like, oh my
Oh, oh yeah. I was sold from there. I was just like,
yeah,
I don't know what to expect, but I was sold from there. I was just like, oh,
yeah.
this is getting a little crazy, getting a little crazy. So my next question for you would be, what does horror do for your mental health, if anything?
I think it just mental health. I can be a very like anxious person. And if something is going wrong, like it feels worse. It always feels like heavier or worse than it is. Um, and so I feel like horror is like a really good release for that. Like as an example, we had like some housing issues back in 2018 where like we had to like move out of our apartment that we really loved. And it was just like a lot of like pressure on us to like find, like we were living in Boston at the time, and trying to find an apartment in Boston like fits your budget. It's just like it's nearly impossible. So we were in this situation where we're like, oh my gosh, like where are we going to go? Like where are we going to live? And it was just a really scary time, like for me. And I remember we went to go see Annabelle Cre. I want to say Annabelle Creation, but I don't know if that's the right one.
Yes,
Um,
and
but we went to go see that, and it was just like we went for the jump scares, and like the jump scares were such a release of like all of these like negative things that I was like holding on to, and it was just like every time I jumped, like I felt like my body like let go of those
gosh,
things. it has a huge, impact, and that's why, like, there's stuff like work. There's oh,
Up, the sound cut out.
you hear that?
Oh, you're back. You're back. I think the sound cut out for a second.
Okay. Okay. I was just saying that for me, like it's a way to release like those negative feelings. And I was talking about, we went to go see Annabelle Creation. So yeah, it's got like a huge impact on like my mental health. And I think that's why like I categorize horror in certain ways. Like there's cozy horror, so stuff like Cursed, that I'll
Yes.
watch when I know like I don't want to be too scared, but like I want something that feels creepy but also feels cozy. But then there's like stuff like The Night House. It's like, oh, I need to cry. So watch The Night House. So I think it helps in a lot of ways.
Oh yes, yes. What's his name? The guy who did the Haunting of Hill House, and Mike Flanagan. Mike Flanagan. His stuff
Uh
is
huh.
very emotional. They try and put some scary imagery in there, but for me, it's like super duper emotional. So I'm like, and
Yeah, it's drama.
I love the fact that now we're in this age where we're getting a lot of dramatic horror, stuff like Hereditary and stuff where we're just getting these amazing performances.
Listen, I haven't seen Hereditary since the day I saw it in the theater. Not because I don't want to, but because I'm too afraid. And also, I cannot like deal with our queen Tony Collette. Her dinner table speech that was so heartbreaking. Like I just
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
there's a lot of stuff in Midsummer, like all of those. Speak No Evil was like another one. You asked like movies that you could watch again for the first time, and like I don't want to watch Speak No Evil, but that was another one where we watched it and then I just thought about it for like weeks after. Like it wouldn't leave my head.
Speaking of evil, I gotta. Is that one? Is that the one on Shutter? Is that the?
I don't know where it's streaming,
Okay,
but
you caught it in theaters.
it's about it's about a family and they like go to visit some other family that they met on vacation, and that's all I'll say. Stuff gets weird, it gets scary,
Okay,
it's
all
unnerving.
right. Speak no evil. I definitely got to check that one out. Definitely got to check that one out. Mika says, yes, horror is a great escape for me. Depending on the mood, you have a lot of variety. Facts,
Mhm.
facts.
Yeah, it's true.
It's definitely a release, which is funny because you said, you're not you like shy away from like the possession type stuff, but the Annabelle movies, so it brought that emotion, so it's definitely yes, Mika. Speak No Evil is streaming on Shutter. Yes, I'm adding it to my list tonight, adding it to my list most definitely.
Mika, have you seen it?
She has had to. She has had to. Mika, have you seen Speaking No Evil? What's your review? What's your
Spoiler
review?
free review.
Spoiler free review. Because I definitely got to check this one out. I definitely got to check this one out.
I
Well,
just like I had to okay, example, I had to drink ginger ale after I finished it because my stomach was all types of messed up because it was just that unnerving. I had to have ginger ale to like calm my stomach.
wow.
I know I'm
Okay.
coming across as like a very fragile horror fan.
No, not at all. Not at all. We all have our moments. Like with me, I love, playing horror video games, but sometimes like I have to take a shot at something, just to get me through, just to calm my nerves because like I'm cool walking down a corridor, but the jump scares, it'll just sometimes I'll just be like,
See, that's something I can't do the horror games. I'll watch my husband play. Was playing, I think it's The Quarry. He was playing that
yes.
like in October. He didn't finish it yet, but like I'll watch him play because if I play, I throw the remote when something starts like running at me, and I think he got sick of me throwing his remote.
Yeah, sometimes you don't even know what your reaction is. Like I'm the type that I'll put the headphones on, I'll be looking at the screen playing. So you're hearing every little thing, then something just jumps out at you. And I just start cursing, Jaleesa's like, what's going on?
Well, and it's worse too, like with like modern, like newer gaming systems where it's like you're walking down the hallway and then all of a sudden the control is like vibrating and screaming and you're like, you don't know like what's like it's bad with new video game systems.
Yes, yes, most, and it's only going to get worse because they've got the VR, and I'm sure we're going to be walking into certain universes, and we're gonna just wearing something on our chest. We can feel our heart beating faster, or the character's heart beating faster. Like it's going
Yeah.
to be some next level stuff, But someone's going to enjoy it out there. Someone's going to enjoy it out there. Um, Now, do you have a favorite horror villain?
Um, a favorite horror villain. Hmm. I'm trying to think of like I don't know if I'd consider it a favorite because I wasn't like I'm not a big Hellraiser fan, but I watched the new Hellraiser and what are they called?
The Cenobites.
The Cenobites. Um, all of them from from the new Hellraiser. And again, I'm not like a Hellraiser like purist or anything. Like I'm not like I've seen the original ones, so I'm sure that there are people who watched the newer one and probably didn't love it. But for me, I just thought that them as villains in that movie, they were all so good. The makeup was so well done. The pinhead in that movie, she was so good, and just like her like slight smiles. I'm like, oh, I know you're evil, but like I love you.
Yeah, they definitely did their thing. That's like one universe that I would not want to be in is just the fact that they're just obsessed with pain, because I hate
Yeah.
pain, and I'm just like you get joy out of I just can't. I just can't.
Yeah, yeah. I would also say to Tragedy Girls. I don't know
Tragedy
if you've seen
Girl.
Tragedy Girls, but the villains.
No.
Okay. If you like Scream, Tragedy Girls is a really good like slasher like comp title for the Scream movies. But the villains in that movie are really good too.
Okay, I gotta check that out. Tragedy Girls. Okay, putting that one on my list as well. Tragedy Girls. I'm sure someone's recommended it to me before. I get so many recommendations. Now, do you have a favorite final girl or final boy? Someone who just lasted.
Um, well, I feel like the audience was kind of like split on this, but I really liked the new Scream movie. And
Okay.
I'm getting like I've gotten more into slashers over like the past like probably like 6, 7 years. So I'd say like of course like Sidney Prescott, one of the original, slasher final girls. Um yeah, and I liked, I liked the final girl. I liked in the new Scream without everybody, if you've not seen the Scream yet, please close your ears for like 30 seconds. I'll wait for a second. But in the new Scream, I liked that like all those characters that traditionally would have like died were all essentially like final girls
Yeah.
in the new Scream. So
Oh yeah, it was definitely interesting. I think there was a rumor on Twitter they were supposed to drop a sneak peek of Scream 6. I don't know if they did, but there was a rumor that we're supposed to get a sneak peek of Scream 6. So are you excited about the new Scream?
I am. They have you seen the like Easter eggs
Yeah,
in Scream 5?
yeah, yeah. I went
Yeah,
I
so
went back and watched the YouTube video.
I won't say anything because I don't want to spoil it for anybody. But yeah, I'm excited just because of the Easter eggs that they dropped in Scream 5.
Oh
And I
yes.
don't know. I feel like that's like a franchise that like I've grown up with. Like I remember watching the first Scream, when I was a little kid, and like it was my dad was watching it with like me and like my three sisters, and he had my uncle call the house. And this was back in the day. We only had a landline, and the landline was downstairs. And we were watching it like in my dad's room. And he had my uncle call the downstairs phone and just like breathe and then hang up. So I don't know why, like the Scream franchise is just like it's comfort, it's nostalgia. Like, yeah, I'm excited for anything Scream when it pops up.
Awesome, awesome. Scream is one of those franchises where, like, especially me getting introduced to the horror community online, is where people are very passionate about it. Like, everyone has their favorite Scream, and it's all across the board, and they're just like, they will defend it to the death.
What's your ranking?
Ooh, what is, what? I would say my ranking, number one would have to be the first Scream. Number two
Okay.
would have to be Scream. Scream 4.
Okay.
Number three would have to be Scream 2. Um, and number four would have to be uh, hmm, Scream. You know what? Number four would have to be Scream. Even though I have my issues with it, Scream 5, and then
Okay.
Scream 3 at the very end. It's funny because I think one of the last people I interviewed, they were like Scream 3 was their favorite Scream, and I was just like, oh man, this is this that's why I'm like, people are so passionate about their favorite Scream. So what's your Scream ranking?
Uh, 1, 4, 1, 4. I 3 and 5. I could take either of them in that order, and then number 2. And I don't know what it is about
Ooh,
number 2, but it's like my least favorite of the bunch, and I don't know
you
why.
I think Elise Neal, she was supposed to be the killer in Scream 2. I just found that out recently.
Oh,
Um,
was she?
yeah, she was supposed to be the killer. Yeah, I don't, and I'm like, they should have just did it. It would have made it. I think it would have gave it a little bit more edge.
Yeah, I don't know. I just it something about that movie feels like off, and it feels different from all the other Screams, and not in like an intentional way, like how five feels different from the other Screams because they're like, this is like not the Scream you grew up with. Like
Yeah.
this is new. And it was intentional, and I didn't feel like that was intentional for number 2. So let me shut up though before somebody like I get like hate mail in my
No,
because
that's
like you
that's
said, people are very passionate about Scream.
yeah, yeah. People are very passionate, very passionate. Mika says, "Ali, loving your selections. Yes, coming through tonight, coming through." She also has her Scream ranking 1, 2, 4, 3, and 5. Yes, yes, a solid list, a solid list. I
Okay.
respect it.
Yeah, that's a good
Germ says
list.
they changed the ending to Scream 2 because of a leak. Gotcha,
Oh, so is that why that's
gotcha.
probably why it feels different from the other ones. Yeah, I
Yeah,
and I've
yeah,
seen them all so many times. And 3, it's one of those ones I hated it when I first saw it, but as an adult, like watching it and like realizing like how meta it is and like how much they draw attention to like the horror movie itself. I think it is a really strong movie, except for the bangs, but it's good outside of that.
yeah. For Scream 3, I really love the explosion scene when they're reading the script, and
Yeah.
it was. I just remember as a kid, I was at the drive-in watching it, and I was just like, oh, what are we watching? Like, it just because I was not expecting to see that in a Scream film, you know, most definitely,
Yeah.
not expecting to see that. Now, my next question, would be, do you have a favorite quarantine movie that, when we were all in lockdown and under, quarantine lockdown, like, did you have a comfort horror movie?
Um, I don't know about like I guess I had like a comfort genre, if that makes
Gotcha.
sense.
Okay.
And it was usually like I don't even know how I would categorize them, but stuff like Crawl with the alligators.
Yes.
Um, what was the other one? It's the one with Mandy Moore and the shark.
Mandy Moore and the shark.
She's in the first one. What is it
I
called?
love a good shark movie. I love what is it called? The Shallows. I really love The Shallows.
It's not, yeah, oh, 47 meters down. So I like
Force.
the first one and then Uncaged. So I went for like movies that the stakes the stakes felt high, but also at the end of the day, it was like, oh, this is just a shark movie, or this is just an alligator movie. Um, Haunt was one that I watched in the pandemic, and that was probably too much for me, like with the pandemic, considering like everything that was like happening in the world.
Yeah.
So I would say like those kinds of movies with like the real life monster, not they're not monsters, the real life animals as monsters. And we also watched Vincent Price because there was something just like comforting about his voice in like a horror setting. So like the hunt, I think it's I always get the title confused. The House on Haunted Hill. I always confuse it
Yes.
with The Haunting of Hill House. But The House on Haunted Hill was one that like I always think about because we watched that during the pandemic. Like that was like a a thing that we did, like, after work on Fridays. It was like, okay, we can't go anywhere, so like let's like put up our line up our movies that we're going to watch, and we tried to do more Vincent Price, so that was good too.
Vincent Price. I loved it. I loved it. The House on Haunted Hill was definitely a classic. I just there's something about Vincent Price's voice and his delivery, like it's unmatched.
Yeah, he's got there's like a some audio recordings on you can find them on Spotify where it's just him like reading strange spells and like talking about creepy things, and it's really good like background music for like a Halloween party or something.
Wow, wow! I definitely got to check that out. Got to find that on YouTube. Yes, Germ says I got into horror. I got into the horror podcast bag when COVID hit. Most definitely. Like I pretty much, ex, I would say like I found the horror community, during during COVID. So I think it definitely, was one positive thing that came out of the storm of negative things, that we got hit with,
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know. Now, we're winding down. The interview's winding down. I've got two more questions for you, but I want to
Yeah.
thank you for rocking with me, so far and answering everything. You've had some great, like Mika said earlier, you got some great selections and some great answers. But now that we're entering into an age of like the metaverse and everything, and um the Oculus and the Google glasses and everything like that, so there's going to be a space for horror in there, so if I were to put on Allie's glasses, what would the world look like, from what you would put in?
Oh man, I don't know if I know how to answer. um
Would it be outdoorsy? Because I know you do a lot of you really into like the outdoor type horror and stuff like
I
that.
don't I don't know because I'm so like I love horror, but like I also want to be safe. I want to be safe. Like I don't want to be in the same room as horror. I think it would have to be like some sort of like contained setting. I wouldn't want it to be outdoorsy. It would have to be, I don't know, like something that is like set in like a specific area, like on a spaceship or something what was that game? Was it Dead Air, Dead Space? Something
Yeah,
like
Dead
that where it's like
Space.
contained, or like you're in like I don't want it to be a haunted house, but like you're in a creepy house or something like that where the terror is contained in there with you, because like I don't know, something about like outdoorsy horror, it just feels like the world is too big and the danger could come from anywhere, but at least if it's like in like a contained setting, you feel like you can defeat it.
Wow, this which is hilarious because two of my scariest games of all time are Dead Space and Alien Isolation, and both you're on a ship, and the
Oh,
dread I was feeling like with the headphones on, it was just like
yeah.
I can't can come it can like you know it's contained, but contained with me, contained with
Yeah, no. I can't do that kind of stuff. Like my sister came to visit once and we had a like a VR headset that we had gotten. Like it was like a cheap one that we got, I think, when we bought like a computer or something. It was, like an add-on. And we had a
yes.
VR headset and they had like all these, like, they weren't games necessarily, but they were like exploration worlds where like you could just like walk through. And we had one where it was like a creepy haunted house. And so my sister put on the VR set and she's like walking through this house. She's very brave, much braver than me. But she's walking through this haunted house. And so like my husband and I turned off the lights and we got really quiet. And so she's talking to us and she's asking us questions and we just stopped responding. And then she was like, guys, guys. And then she like rips like the VR headset off and like the whole house is dark and it's just and that is like too immersive. I feel like that would have like broken me in some way, but she was fine. She survived. But the VR stuff is very creepy.
It's very next level. It's and it's only going to get creepier. I imagine it's only going to get creepier. Um, but
Yeah.
that was an awesome answer. Spaceship. Something contained. Love that. Now my last question of the night for you is if you could spend the day in the life of your favorite, horror character or favorite horror creature, or whether it be like a spirit, a creature, a person, an entity, anything, like what would you spend or who would you spend 24 hours as?
Um, I'm gonna go with a TV show for this one, and it's gonna be a safe answer. So you might not love it. But like, are you afraid of the dark? If I could have been like any of those characters going to like sit around the campfire to like just tell scary stories with like other people who loved it,
Yes.
I probably would have done something like that.
Yeah, well, that can become a reality for you. That's kind of what the horror community is. Like we get around, we talk about spooky things. I love that answer though, because that's like my dream um birthday party. Just like
Oh,
throwing a birthday party like midnight society style, like everyone around the campfire and we're all telling, spooky stories and stuff like that.
there's a bookstagrammer. Her name is Spookish Mommy, and she always like posts the funniest stuff, but like she also goes viral like a lot because the stuff that she says just really resonates with people. But she had like
Hmm.
pitched the idea of a camp, a summer camp, but it's just like people coming together to like read scary books and then talk about their scary books around the campfire after they're done reading them. And that like idea just like blew up. Spookish Mommy, go follow her. Um,
Yes.
and I think that's what you're talking about, but just probably with movies. So we need
Yes.
to
No,
make that happen. Like maybe it's like a
we
virtual campfire.
yes, books, move. Well, yeah, we definitely need to make that happen. We definitely need to make that happen. A virtual campfire. Yeah, you may have given me an idea. You may thank you, Ali, because yeah, we definitely need it. Whether it's because we got writers from all over. People who write books. People who write movies. People who write just short stories from the stuff that they've seen. Like we've got to, yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That was an amazing answer. That turned into one of my favorite answers of all time. Thank you.
Well, let's. I just want to credit Spookish Mommy with that because that's her idea, and it's a really good idea. And somebody
Yes,
should do it and make
yes.
it a.
Spookish,
You could
follow
have like
Spookish mommy.
different characters.
Yes, yes. Most definitely, most definitely. Well, thank you for joining me tonight and answering all my questions. And it was awesome getting to know you a little bit, and just getting to talk about our favorite genre. And I'm excited for what you've got on the horizon.
Yeah, no, thank you for inviting me. I had a lot of fun. It's nice like meet new people and just talk about, the thing that we all love. And I'm gonna watch Malignant in January.
Yes,
as
yes,
soon as I'm like done with my little like horror break.
yes, yes. And I'm gonna watch Speak No Evil. I'm gonna definitely check that one out. This week is definitely on my list. Definitely on my list. But I want to thank everybody in the chat for
Okay,
stopping
Speak No
by.
Evil, Sweetheart, and Night House.
Sweetheart and Night House. Yes, Night House. That's a rewatch. Me and Jaleesa are definitely going to check that one out. So we're definitely going to give you our review of that. I'm going to give you my re-review because watching, especially like stuff that can be considered psychological, like you know, and something like Night House, you get a different perspective. So I'm like my perspective may change on the movie. After I watch it, with her, and then after I get your breakdown as well. But thank you to everybody in the chat. Whitney, Jaleesa, Mika, thank you, Germs, Christine, everybody for stopping by. Black Horror Survivor, thank you for stopping by as well. Everybody for hanging out with us in the chat tonight. Make sure that you all follow this lady right here, One Dark Alley. She's amazing. She's got her first debut novel coming out in 2024. Definitely be on the lookout for that. You've also got you write for the blog. Um, what is it?
Nightfire.
Nightfire. Yes, yes. So definitely check that out. And you've got some awesome content on your Instagram, as well. So if you're just into the spooky lifestyle, follow the Hollow Queen herself, Allie, right here. All the links are in the description right now. Make sure that you check her out. But yes, everybody, I want to thank you. I want to thank you again, Allie, for stopping by. And hopefully, we can do this again. Hopefully, get you in on some of the future discussions, especially now that I know you love Are You Afraid of the Dark? Like I'm planning on having something special with that real soon. So thank you again, everybody. Peace, love, and horror. Keep it spooky, people. Keep it spooky.